if you all would like copies of the information from which that was drawn, I've got that for you all today in case you want to review any of that. It's primarily newspaper articles, photographs, and books documenting the long history of the existence of the community of Hochatown. With the most recent recognition, actually, let me give you this copy. Sorry. I was looking for your own copy. Yeah, I did. I didn't want to stick it up there. With the most recent recognition being by the Oklahoma House as well as the Oklahoma Senate, both passed resolutions earlier this year, copies of which are included in the documentation that I just provided you, finding that Hochatown was an important historical town and present-day tourism destination in McCurtain County and Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. The House passed that resolution on March 29th, and the Senate passed a similar resolution on May 2nd. Copies of those are also included in the information that is provided. There can be no doubt that Hochatown has historically been recognized as a community of people residing in compact form. Has that changed over time? Certainly, as do all communities. And it's all the more reason why incorporation should be permitted so that this town can control its own destiny, so it can control its own growth, so it can have the necessary municipal powers in place in order to preserve its historical nature and its ongoing existence. The second exception to the 3-mile rule is contained in 11 OS 2-104D, which applies to areas of land which are not contiguous to the existing municipality. In that circumstance, those urban annexed areas are not to be included and considered for purposes of the 3-mile rule. 104D provides that such land, if it was annexed by a municipality and completely non-adjacent to the corporate limits of the municipality, it shall not be included. This particular provision has not been the subject of legal interpretation regarding but it has been the subject of interpretation with respect to municipal annexation. And in 11 OS 21-103, it uses analogous language regarding what is considered adjacent or contiguous territory. We believe that same reasoning should and will be applied by a court if and when it is required to interpret this section. The reason for not including such land in a municipality or having stricter requirements for annexation is because the Oklahoma Supreme Court recognizes that having a contiguous and adjacent community is an integral component of a municipality's essential concept. That comes from in re de-annexation of certain real property from City of Seminole, case number 2004 OK 60 at paragraphs 20 and 21. The Oklahoma Supreme Court has explained that the contiguity requirement generally requires some touching of the municipality and the territory to be annexed. The Supreme Court has further found that statutory contiguity is not met where a narrow corridor is used to gain access to the discontiguous tracts of land. That also comes from the Seminole case at paragraph 22. Here, the Broken Bow Public Works Authority land is completely non-adjacent to the corporate limits of Broken Bow, and therefore, other than the strip, much like in the annexation context. And for that reason, it should not be considered part of the land to be analyzed when determining whether or not the area to be incorporated is within 3 miles of Broken Bow. It is our position then that Title 11, Section 2-104 does not restrict Hochatown's petition for incorporation, and that we've satisfied all requirements of the petition as well as the 3-mile rule. The territory exclusions laid out in subsection A do not apply to Hochatown. The only parcel that lies within 3 miles of the proposed territory is the Broken Bow Public Works Authority, which should not be considered as it is not adjacent to Broken Bow and is excluded pursuant to 11 OS 2-104D. Happy to answer, well, we're not answering questions. I will turn over the rest of my time. I know there are many here who want to comment, and to the extent there's time, if Miss Diane Jordan wants to add any additional information, she's our resident historian, and I look to her for all on that, but I believe we've provided you with extensive documentation demonstrating the historical recognition of this community, and we would respectfully request that you provide an opportunity for the folks who live within this community to control their own destiny. It may be voted no, but that's not within the power or the auspices of this board. But we believe that we've satisfied the requirements for the petition, and that this should be put to a vote of the people to determine their own destiny and determine if this is the right thing for their community going forward. And that's all we ask of you today, is as a chance to allow the people to determine the destiny of their own community. We very much appreciate your time, and I'll turn it over to anyone else that has comments. Ms. Jordan, would you like to speak? Yes. Thank you.
We've presented most of our historical evidence to you back in March. I've updated some of it, but there are a couple of things that I particularly want to call your attention to. On September 17th, 1894, the U.S. Postal Service gave us a post office in Hochatown. On June the 8th and 9th, in the 1900 census, we had 24 families living in Hochatown. A couple of those people on that census record included Tom Pinkard. His granddaughter is here today, who still lives in Hochatown. It shows that we continuously live in this community. It also shows Silas Billy. We have his Bible that is written in it that is from Hochatown, Oklahoma. That's included in your packet. Also draw your attention to July 1st, 1963, when the U.S. Postal Service issued Hochatown their own zip code. On April 15th, 1965, in a warranty deed in book 198, page 180 in the Mountain Township Miller to the Hochatown Cemetery Association, which goes to show that we are continuing to be a community even after the lake was formed. On June the 6th, 1970, Speaker of the House Carl Albert dedicated the dam and reservoir. On April 23rd, 1978, Weyerhaeuser deeded land to the Hochatown Church, warranty deed book 386, page 414. And then we go to some more recent times. On August 25th, 2016, in direct recognition of the compact and distinct existence of the community of Hochatown, the City of Broken Bow and the McCurtain County Tourism Authority installed a Welcome to Hochatown sign south of our proposed town territory. This lease of easement was recorded on August 25th, 2016 in the Land Records Book, page 947, page 213. And then I think Ms. George explained some of the later activities that have happened in March all the way through May with the Idabel Chamber of Commerce signed a resolution recognizing Hochatown as an important town. Dustin Roberts and Kevin Wallace of the Oklahoma House 1051 signed a resolution recognizing Hochatown as an important historical town. And Senator Chris Kidd, Senate Resolution 39, also has a resolution recognizing Hochatown as a historical town. I have an additional 8 pages of evidence that you have copies of. I won't go over them all since we've been limited to 30 minutes, but I would like to ask a couple of our residents to speak. Ms. Kincaid?
Sue, would you want to talk?
I lived in Hochatown all my life until they run me off. So, but it was a community that trusted the Lord. And it didn't matter whether you had no money or you were rich. You got to buy stuff at the store. My father owned it. But when they built the lake, my daddy asked to buy land across, but they wouldn't sell it to him. So if he had have built a a business in Hochatown, then we wouldn't be questioning about having, whether to have a town now or not. But I feel like that Hochatown needs to be a town.
I think I can speak loud enough that everybody can hear me, but I was born in Hochatown in 1936, moved away, went to California, and they always said you go to California, you come back, you know everything there is to know. So I'm back, and I just think that we can function a whole lot better if we become a city and get on with our business. I was born in a log cabin. I think my mom and dad must have built it, and I never dreamed in all my travels, my husband and I, we were fishermen, so we've seen most of America, but I never dreamed there would be so many log cabins. I don't like them. Born in just one probably 15 feet long and 8 foot wide, but there's a lot of them, and I think there's gonna continue to be a lot more. So thank you.
Come up here, Diane, folks. I need to vote. My name is Charles Ward. My wife and I, hello, Renee, we are residents of Hochatown and also business owners of Hochatown. We moved here from Oklahoma City over 2 years ago to be a part of the exciting growth in Hochatown. And as residents now, we live not too far off of 259 north of Hochatown, in Hochatown, just the north side of Hochatown. It's a dirt road. It's too narrow. It's full of potholes, and it's constantly eroding away. It's dusty, it's slippery, and I can't tell you, almost on a daily basis, I almost run into our neighbors, on that road coming around the corners. Very, 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 very dangerous. My neighbor, who, to the east of us, has been there for over 20 years. He said, look, the county has promised that they're gonna pave these roads for the past 20 years, and it's never happened. So, as a business owner, as a business owner, wife and I, we employ about 5 people, and we need to expand. I mean, we're wanting to expand. We'd love to build our own building for our office, maybe some retail space and a restaurant. However, the lack of a sewer system prevents us from building the building that we want and need. The septic system would just be too costly. And I hear the same complaint with other business owners in Hochatown that they really can't expand and build their buildings the way they need. As business owners and residents, we're worried about safety. It seems like the response time for emergency services is just too long. We had a neighbor actually whose house burned to the ground after the volunteer fire department came out to put the fire out. Love the volunteer fire department, respect them, appreciate them, but they ran out of water, and they told my neighbors, sorry, it's just going to have to burn on its own. We had an acquaintance who had a rowdy person in Hochatown that was disrupting his business, and he had to wait a very long time until the sheriff's office could respond from Idabel. There were something disturbing to me really is that there are plans in the works to put a strip club in Hochatown. I think it's something residents don't want, and I don't think tourists want either. Safety concerns, we have well over 2,000 cabins well over that now, being built in Hochatown, all without building codes or inspections. I had a contractor tell me that he sees large spans of open spaces being held up by inadequate beams, and that sooner or later it's gonna collapse. So for these reasons, I'm in favor of incorporating Hochatown so that we can create revenue to build the infrastructures we so desperately need, sewer, water treatment, roads, and to hopefully start our own police department, fire department to protect our residents, and enact building codes to protect the safety of our residents and guests, and ordinances to protect the community from certain harmful activities. So, you know, it seems the case has been made for incorporating Hochatown, or at least putting it up to the vote, and let the residents decide for themselves. This really shouldn't be about the rumors flying around that the county wants to vote on a lodging tax before Hochatown is incorporated. It shouldn't be about that. Or wait until Broken Bow at some point in time can annex Hochatown. It shouldn't be about that. And it shouldn't be about choosing failure over success. I had, saw a quote in the paper from one commissioner who said, for every 10 people who have progressed in Hochatown, 10 people have suffered. I would say, how? How? Property owners all across McCurtain County are getting top dollar for their property, all because of Hochatown. I've seen more millionaires being made in McCurtain County than I saw in 25 years of practicing in Oklahoma City. And those self-made millionaires are keeping the money here in McCurtain County. There have been more jobs created in Hochatown than can be filled by residents in the county. We've seen businesses in Hochatown and elsewhere that have had to close down because they can't find help. There are so many jobs there. Pardon? Okay, I'm almost done. So who has suffered? I don't, everyone has benefited from the success of Hochatown. So it's not about all of that. It's about the residents of Hochatown being able to determine their own future. So commissioners, I ask you, let the residents of Hochatown vote on incorporation. Thank you.
Commissioners, if there's no one further, I would just ask that the board exercise its duty to measure whether or not the threshold checklist of items set forth in 11 OS 3-101 have sufficiently been presented, not to judge whether incorporation is a good idea or not. Whether this town should be permitted to incorporate should be left to the province of the voters who are residents of the proposed area. It's our position that we've submitted sufficient information to satisfy the requirements of Oklahoma law regarding this matter. And again, we very much appreciate your time. Thank you.
Chairman, in accordance with state statute, I move to enter into executive session.
Second that.